Hey everyone, it's Deb Putnoi in Boston, Massachusetts in the Drawing Lab. And I'm really excited to be here today with you and to talk about our next ABCs of drawing, which I have it as push right here. I have to admit, I made these a while ago, these ABCs, and it's really more about pushing process over product. And I'm going to talk a lot about this today because it's really, well, all these things, all these letters are really important to me and important to my work as an artist. And what I do in my work is kind of all kind of encompassed in this ABCs of drawing. So I'm really trying to teach you about drawing, but not in the typical way that drawing is taught, but kind of talk to you about some things that I think are essential as maybe living in the world, but also being an artist. So pushing process over product. And it's kind of funny. I just want to share a little story, not a story, but that just happened to me. So my son is a freshman in college, and right before I was coming on, he texted me. He's like, I think I'm a B student now. He's a good student, a very good student, but he's used to getting A's. And I said, it's really curious that you're saying this right now because it's really about the process of learning and not the product of the grade. The grade doesn't really matter what grades you get in college. It's about learning and expanding your mind. We were talking about yesterday, open mind, opening your mind to different things. And that when you're in college, you get to explore all these different ways of thinking and learning. And the grade is the product that we're all told to push for. But really, it's about the process of learning and discovery. And that's really what I want to talk to you about today, is that process in art or process in life. We're on this journey of discovery and exploration. And we're, I think especially if you're type A and you're trying to do everything in a right way and, get to these certain milestones, that you're so focused on the product that you miss out on the process of living and learning. And the same is true, I think, in the art world. I went to a school that really valued a process approach. Shout out to the museum school in Boston. It was very much about process. And what I want to share with you is the idea that it's much more about the process of learning and experimentation and discovery over the product. Now, yes, the product in the end is, if you're going to be an artist and you're going to sell your work, at some point you're worried about the product of what you're creating. But really, to get there, you have to kind of iterate and to get into a space of not knowing. And we've talked about making mistakes in the past, but really, how do you think about in your own work and your own discovery of drawing and creativity of getting into a process approach where you don't know the outcome? You're not in your head with okay, I have to create these things and it's going to be these products, but instead that you're in this open space of, and I just had an artist here with me who just walked out the door. She was doing a project, and if I turned my video around, you could see all of her work. But she had about 40 different prints up on I have an etching press here, and she had 40 different prints on that she was working through, and she was ripping up, and she was getting ready to ship 2 of them out to a show, but it was all about process. She did have an end product in mind, but she didn't know what that was going to be. She knew that she was doing it around the theme of running, and I don't want to do disservice about what she was working on, but the idea is that she would work through a process, had many iterations. She was working on maybe 10 pieces at a time. And so I wanted to kind of share with you some ways to kind of encourage a practice of process. So how do you actually practice a process approach? Then I'm going to share with you my favorite kids book, one of my favorite kids book, which is Ish. And then I'm going to teach you a way to also practice, a process approach in your own, maybe over the weekend, you can try this. But if you're thinking about process and ways to kind of push yourself, I think some really great ways is to work on several pieces at one time. So in my studio, I usually have about 5 or 6 pieces that are going at one time. And I am in this kind of open mindset, like we talked about yesterday, but I'm also not set on a way that my pieces are going to set out, going to look in the end. I'm open to this place of discovery, of not knowing. And so a process approach is allowing all this intuitive energy. I don't even know what to call it because I've been kind of in it for so long, but in this space, and then letting all of that come into your process mixing paint in a different way, using a palette knife or brush, using both hands, getting into the space of discovery, and then kind of reacting to what's on the page or what's on the canvas, and then working from that. So it's kind of this back and forth dialogue. So I would say that if you have a couple things over, like if you are an artist and you're in your studio, to work on several things at one time. You can also limit your time when you're working. So if you want to just get into a space where you're not working necessarily on something, but you want to kind of get into the space of like working quickly. So you can play with timing and to really, so I do this in different ways. I work with people to work very quickly on one piece. So I might have them look at one object and we do 1 minute drawing 60 times. So over an hour, we're just drawing the same object in different ways. Or you could slow something really down and play with like creating one piece, but you have to work on the same piece of paper for 3 hours and keep going, keep iterating, and not switching to something else. So timing, so multiples is one thing, working on your timing as kind of a constraint, but also allows you to be more creative. And I would also play with like your tools. So what kind of materials are you using? Back here, I have all these different drawing materials. I have pencils and white charcoal and dark charcoal. And so really thinking about how to play with process in terms of materials. So not getting so stuck on, if you're someone that draws with only pencil and a very fine pencil, and that's the thing that you always work with, why don't you play with charcoal and white charcoal and some other medium that you don't normally use. Maybe it's India ink, and do something where you're responding to a poem just with your marks. Read a poem, something that really strikes you. You can pick a poem out and then just create a drawing that just responds in marks to that. And it's all about process. You can't do it wrong. You're using different materials. So playing with your materials is another way to encourage a process approach and to cultivate practice and process in the same time. So I thought I would come on also because I saw a principal do this the other day, and I thought, that's a great idea for the drawing lab as well, because I have I collect art books, like books about art and teaching, not teaching, but like Audubon and patent draw. I have a great collection of kids' books about drawing and about creativity and about artists. And I thought, I'm going to come on here and just read a book once in a while. So if you're watching with your kids and you want to discover some new books around art and drawing, that might be kind of fun. And I'll read it. And, if you want to have 10 minutes to get some coffee, but it's actually a great book for everyone to read, because this book really gets at that process approach so it's a kid's book, but it's really great for adults too. His other book that I love and I use a lot with my teaching is The Dot. And I was going to read that today, but then I thought this kind of relates a little bit more to process. So I'm going to read Ish to you all the way through, and then I'm going to teach you kind of an ishy way to draw, one of my favorite ways to draw. So this is called Ish. It's by Peter Reynolds. And I'm going to try to show you. So this is the first, can you see it? Ramon loved to draw. Anytime, anything, anywhere. I love the simple way that these drawings are, but it's I love to draw anytime, anywhere as well. So I don't know if you do. One day, Ramon was drawing a vase of flowers. His brother Leon leaned over his shoulders. Leon burst out laughing. "What is that?" he asked. Ramon could not even answer. He just crumpled up the drawing and threw it across the room. Leon's laughter haunted Ramon. He kept trying to make his drawings look right, but they never did. Remember, there's no right or wrong way to draw. So this is Leon needed my rules of drawing, I think. After many months and many crumpled sheets of paper, Ramon put his pencil down. "I'm done," he said. You can see it right there. I've actually read live before, but Marisol, his sister, was watching him. What do you want? He snapped. I was watching you draw, she said. Ramon sneered. I'm not drawing. Go away. Marisol ran away, but not before picking up a crumpled sheet of paper. Hey, come back here with that. Ramon raced after Marisol, up the hall, not the hill, and into her room. And that's her room. You can see it. He was about to yell, but fell silent when he saw his sister's walls. He stared at the crumpled gallery. So she had taken all of his drawings that he crumpled up and threw away and put on her wall. This one is my favorite, Marisol said, pointing. That was supposed to be a vase of flowers, Ramon said, but it doesn't look like one. Well, it looks vase-ish, she exclaimed. Vase-ish. Let me get it. Vase-ish, Ramon looked closer. Then he studied all the drawings on Marisol's walls and began to see them in a whole new way. They do look ish, he said. Can you see that? Ramon felt light and energized. Thinking ishishly allowed his ideas to flow freely. He began to draw what he felt, loose lines, quickly springing out without worry. Ramon once again drew and drew and drew, and the world around him, making an ishish drawing, felt wonderful. And here he has tree-ish, house-ish, boat-ish, afternoon-ish, fish-ish, and sun-ish. He filled his journals. Ramon realized he could draw ish feelings too. Peace-ish, silly-ish, excited-ish. This ish art inspired ish writing. He wasn't sure if he was writing poems, but he knew they were poem-ish. And then he has a little poem right here. One spring morning, Ramon had a wonderful feeling. It was a feeling that even ish words and ish drawings could not capture. He decided not to capture it. Instead, he simply savored it. And Ramon lived ishfully ever after. And I love this book because it's simple, but it really gets at that process approach. Like once he let go of this idea that he had to draw a perfect vase, he was able, and his sister loved his drawings, which I think is so touching, that he could let go and be in this process approach, in this place of just like experimenting and feeling things inside and having that come out on the page. And he was free from that judgmental side of, that judgmental voice that we have, and just was able to kind of experiment and just let his own line come out on the page. And that's really my goal for everyone. And it's my goal here in the Drawing Lab, is to have you get to that place where you feel comfortable drawing the way that you draw and feel the love of drawing the way that I love drawing, and to bring people back to their own sense of their drawing mind. So Ish is a great book. I hope I did it some justice here. And what I want to do right now is to share with you kind of a way to draw ishishly, which is to do a blind contour drawing. And I know I've done this before on my Facebook Lives, but it really gets to kind of what happens in this book, and also to a place of process. That this is something that you could practice, every day for 5 minutes, for 2 minutes. I like to draw my hand, every day, just to have a quick check-in with my brain and kind of get things all wired up, and to just see something carefully over time. So the idea of a blind contour drawing is that you draw something without looking at your paper. So you have your paper, you have your tool, but you're going to look carefully at the thing you're drawing, but you're not going to look down at your paper. So if I was going to do this, and I'm going to angle this down just a little bit, so you'll see, I'm going to have my hand over here. I'm going to make a fist, and I'm going to angle my body. And I'm going to so you'll see, I am going to draw here and not look at my paper. Okay, so you have to trust. I hope you can see let's see if I can do this so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm gonna turn my body, and wherever and I'm just gonna make sure that you can see it. Okay, yeah, you can see it. Okay, so wherever my eye travels, I'm right at my fingernail, my thumbnail. Wherever my eye travels, my pencil is gonna follow on that journey. And it's not about really the drawing, it's about the looking carefully and seeing something in kind of a deep way. And this is a great thing to do outside, or you could do your face. You could do if you have plants in your house. So now I'm doing each of my fingers that are bent. So I have it I'm not looking at my paper, and you kind of get lost. There's a piece, there's like, I don't really know where I am on the paper. And seeing is a very active process. So my eye is kind of like moving everywhere. I'm trying to capture where it's going. And even if I draw the same thing a couple times, I'm trying to capture this kind of active looking process. I'm down at the crease here. I'm hoping you can see. Yep, you can see. And I'm coming around to where my thumb kind of started. It's probably not going to hook up. I'm going to try to do that a little. I'll do the cup of my. So here is the drawing of my fist without looking. So I wasn't looking. And I tend to do this like every day just as a way to check in, but it's an ish drawing. So if we're thinking about the book Ish, this is a great way to practice being in the process, not worrying about the outcome. I'm not worried. I could rip this up and I could still have had, let me get my face back here so I'm not, I still could have kind of a experience, in a process approach, and I'm not worrying about like framing this and making it my final product. It's about using the drawing as a catalyst for connecting with your brain in different ways, connecting with your vision and seeing, connecting with yourself, connecting with things in the world. So if you're out at the seashore and find a shell and you draw it, you're seeing that shell, the one-of-a-kind shell that had ever existed, just like your face is one of a kind. And when you do a drawing of your face, you're the only one that existed. So it's really about slowing down. Like I think we're rushing around. So it's really about slowing down, looking carefully, and the blind contour is a wonderful way to do that. I'm sorry about my cloth. So I would give yourself permission to be in that process place and to practice, in that process approach, and just draw a couple blind contours or give yourself an opportunity to work on many different things that we talked about earlier to keep yourself kind of loose and active and not worry about the end product, not worry about getting the A that we talked about, but really just like being in it as a process of learning, of spirit of experimentation. And I want to thank you for being with me today. And if you have any questions, like I've always said, shoot me an email. You can put a comment in my Facebook. If you want to share any drawings that you've done, upload the drawings into the group. You can join my Drawing Lab group if you want. And it's a great thing to do over the weekend if you have kids and want to draw with them. Kids love to draw, and you can do the blind contour. And there's no kid that's too young. Maybe if you're 2, it's a little young, but little kids love to figure it out. And so stay in touch, and we will see you next week for the rest of these letters. So we're going to get through the ABCs of drawing, and we'll do one of my favorite, I guess they're all my favorite in different ways, but question, thinking about what it means to question when you're drawing. Okay, everyone, have a great weekend, and happy spring. Bye-bye.